Hey, kid. What are you doing moping over there?
Were you talking to me?
No one else sadder than a wet hen over yonder. I reckon something got you feeling like a redhead stepchild.
I guess I just have a lot on my mind.
We all do, honey. Ain't nothing comes easy or cheap. If you're looking for the easy way, you're barking up the wrong tree. Do I have to spell it out for you? I might have just the thing. Get you out of your debts.
Okay, I guess I'll try anything.
Before's I help you out of this predicament, let me tell you a bit of a backstory. I grew up on the roughest side of the Mississippi, picking fights with just about anyone who looked at me wrong. I was in a tussle more days than I could remember. Any no-good son of a gun fixing the mix found themselves with a shiner brighter than Monday morning. Point is, I could make a preacher cuss. One day things came to a head. I picked a fight with a group of bikers down by the interstate. They had me cornered. They was gonna jerk a knot in my tail. Right when I thought I was deader than a doornail, the skies opened up and my prayers were answered. If ins you told me I'd be saved by a bunch of yellow-bellied, blue-balled pygmies, I'd have said you ain't got the sense God gave a goose. They cried uncle faster than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking competition. Those chow were like lightning in a bottle zipping around. When things were done, there was torn leather and motorcycle wheels rolling down the road. And from that day forward, I knew my destiny. I was gonna be a chow girl.
What is a chow girl?
A chow girl. Like a cowgirl, but with chow. You're dumber than you look. But things don't always go easy for a chow poke like me. I ran a chow ranch for the better part of 15 years now. But that doesn't bring in money. So I knew what I had to do. I had to whip those chow into shape, prim and proper. I found out about an underground fighting ring. They call it Chow Karate. I was new to the game, but by golly, if I wasn't tanning hide and taking names, I was raking in the big ones. It happened faster than a knife fight in a phone booth. My chow were in peak physical form. But it's time the sun set on my ranch. It's time to get someone new into the game. That's where you come in. Look, it ain't ethical. And it might be a gamble. It could get you out of that sticky situation you done got yourself into. Here, fix your eyes on this.
Chow karate. Be there or be square fruit.
Don't get caught up on their advertising. They ain't never been good at that. Just look at that big number at the bottom.
$30,000.
That's right.
That could fix everything. I could be free. Wait, where am I gonna find a chow? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I think you're ready.
I didn't think you'd show.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
You got yourself a chow good and ready this fast?
Yes. We're ready to take this competition. We can do this.
All right. Well, your first seed. Make me proud.
Well, at least we tried.
Yeah. Ain't no consolation prize.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But maybe someone who owns a ranch might be willing to help me out.
Yeah. Maybe. I'm tired of here.
America. The beautiful. The brave. The red, the white, the blue blur? Think about America. What are the first things you think of? Freedom? Cookouts? What completes a cookout? Well, if you ask me, cookouts wouldn't be complete without a chili dog. What about speed? Evel Knievel? Monster trucks? Who else has a lot of speed? Who's the fastest hedgehog around? That's right. It's Sonic. American hero. A household name with entries dating back to the early 90s. A generational staple and a modern marvel. A series that has taken us everywhere. Whether you're living in the city or trying to escape it, stuck in a pinball cabinet or a mean bean machine, there's no question of the relevance and power this IP holds. And with the 25th anniversary of Sonic Adventure 1's release in the West approaching this year, I figured now was a better time than any to put out a deep dive on two of the most influential games in the franchise, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. I'd like to preface by saying I'm the worst platform player to grace the earth. Those of you that have watched my Banjo-Kazooie video may already know this, and should be glad I omitted a plethora of clips. But that didn't stop me from barely beating these games with E ranks and plenty of game overs. With all that said, I present to you the Content Cleric of Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure, released in 1998, was the first fully open-world 3D Sonic game ever produced. The game's production ran parallel with the design of its flagship console, the Sega Dreamcast, and aimed to take Sonic in a new direction never before seen. With fully voiced cutscenes and large sandbox-styled levels players could get lost in. With a stronger emphasis on storytelling and world building, Sonic Team assembled a group of over 100 developers to take on this arduous task, and helped shape even the production of the console itself. This being the first 3D iteration of the franchise required reworks to designs of many of the characters that were series staples. Sonic went from being a short, chubby hedgehog to a taller, slimmer model with longer quills and more realistic humanesque traits, and the designs of the other core cast followed. The antagonist, Chaos, would also be designed with a moldable liquid base that could transform into various shapes to show off the prowess of the new hardware of the time, something game director Takashi Iizuka would call impossible to make on previous hardware. Environments in Sonic Adventure were sometimes vast and lush, and sometimes harsh and dirty. These concepts had been visited in earlier series entries, but being changed into 3D models required extensive background research, something Sonic Team accomplished within the game's development window. It's reported that the team visited locations such as real-life ruins that still exist in Mesoamerica. Photographs were taken to use as reference points to better design these distinct environments and landscapes. Tikal, the ancient echidna that is a major portion of the campaign's storyline, is literally named after the Temple of Tikal in Guatemala, which hosts one of the most expansive archaeological sites in Mayan history. These environments contrast nicely to the areas in Station Square, which are cityscapes with tall buildings, bustling businesses and hotels, NPCs, traffic, and even a tucked-away casino. The subway in the center of both connecting hub worlds serves as a linking point between the jungle and the city. Speaking on the hub world specifically, it would be wrong to avoid talking about the worst part about Sonic Adventure: gameplay direction. In modern gaming, many people argue about hand-holding and an overabundance of leading developers do for players that breaks immersion. Well, if you hate those things, try Sonic Adventure 1. Outside of very few blink-and-you'll-miss-it cutscenes showing keys just randomly appearing somewhere in the various places in the hub world, and voice lines that give vague descriptions of your possible next move, there are virtually zero indications ever to where you're supposed to be going. This leads to longer sessions of explorative gameplay, which at first is actually not that bad, but eventually on your 4th or 5th character becomes tedious and outright annoying. In addition, objectives in the hub world can be confusing and frustrating due to seemingly random campaign progress triggers. Not to mention faulty raised geometry that causes the player to get stuck on buttons repeatedly or fall off platforms entirely. Thankfully, these issues remain locked to the hub world only, as the levels themselves, known as action stages, are where this game really shines. Sonic Adventure features 6 playable characters with their own interconnecting story arcs and gameplay style. Starting off with our titular character, Sonic the Hedgehog, his levels are platform heavy and require precise movement along with blazing fast speed and acceleration. As with previous entries, his gameplay revolves around collecting rings and moving to the end goal as quickly as possible. Next up is Tails, the flying fox. Tails controls much easier than Sonic, given his ability to traverse longer gaps and glide around various obstacles Sonic can't. His gameplay is based around racing Sonic and later on, Robotnik, to the end of each action stage. Then we have Knuckles the Echidna, keeper of the Master Emerald and a host to an Easter egg hunt style minigame for his action stages. The goal is to collect 3 pieces of the Master Emerald in a mid-sized open world environment. Fourth, we have Amy Rose, whose shopping day is interrupted by a robot who is trying to capture a small bird that Amy chooses to help. Her action stages consist of running to a balloon while being pursued by said robot. The penultimate character in Sonic Adventure is E-102 Gamma, a robot that defects from Eggman's side and chooses to help Sonic and his crew. His action stages are time-based and require him to shoot various enemies to acquire more time and proceed to the end, followed by a fight with another one of Eggman's robots. And I've saved the best character for last. The shining beacon in the Sonic series. The character that put Sonic Adventure on the map. Big the Cat. Armed with his signature fishing pole and a single purpose: save his best friend Froggy. Big gets caught up in a story he had no part in, but he would never leave a frog behind. His action stages serve as a fishing minigame as you collect fish for points or save Froggy from various aquatic prisons. These characters and environments mesh beautifully and create a masterpiece no one saw coming, with success that can't be understated. Sales for Sonic Adventure 1 were great, and reviews were even greater. With various high scores and praise across the internet, and a Metacritic score of 8.4, it seemed like Sonic was on top of the world yet again. But what about the storyline the devs focused on so much? Surely interconnecting campaigns and a cast loaded with various characters would change the gaming landscape forever. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. The voice acting was so abysmal, it detracted from the experience and left many players feeling bored or even confused.
Now what do you say we nail those guys?
You got it! Hang on!
I'll find that Eggman and put him out of commission. Oh no! Not again!
Most storylines and plot points seem to occur at random and without any purpose or warning. The background story of the Echidnas and Chaos was decently compelling in that we get a more solid understanding of the Master Emerald and why Knuckles would be entrusted to guard it. However, almost every other character storyline hasn't really stood the test of time. One promising feature, though, is once every character's campaign is completed, we get a final fight with perfect chaos as Super Sonic, a fitting end to an action-filled epic. There are 2 additional things to mention when speaking on Sonic Adventure: the Chow Garden and the mission mode. As for the Chow Garden, that will be mainly talked about in the Sonic Adventure 2 section, but I wanted to leave a note here speaking on what I would call the most interesting feature of the Dreamcast release: the VMU, or Virtual Memory Unit's integration with the Chow Garden minigame. Chow, much like other Tamagotchi or pet simulators, are raised from birth and improve on various skills based on player input. Using the VMU, players can transfer Chow from their game and adventure, increasing the Chow's base stats. Gameplay is that of an auto-scroller, with numerous events the Chow would get into, prompting rewards. If two VMU are connected, the Chow can breed, providing further offspring for the player's Chow Garden. For the re-release on the GameCube, Sonic Team allowed Chow transfer to the GBA game, Sonic Advance. Lastly, we move on to Mission Mode, added in the GameCube release of Sonic Adventure Director's Cut, a divisive addition that supplements post-game gameplay, but plays to the previously mentioned worst part of Sonic Adventure. Mission Mode consists of picking a character, then randomly finding cards scattered throughout the hub world, each with a corresponding challenge, such as go to the burger shop to retrieve the statue and place it on the marker, or, while snowboarding down the ice cap, collect 13 flags. These challenges seem mostly like busy work, but do add to the overall gameplay. In totality, Sonic Adventure 1 had plenty of options to satiate Sonic fans, but this would only be the first step in what would end up making a permanent mark on gaming forever. Sonic Adventure 2. Arguably one of the best action platformers ever made. Before getting into this, I just wanted to say that usually when an overwhelming amount of people like a game, especially something that exists outside of modern gaming, revisiting it can feel somewhat clunky through controls or gameplay mechanics or what have you, but this game has none of that. This game could be released today and people would still go crazy for it. 3 vastly different gameplay styles across 2 very different teams. Levels that seem handcrafted for the characters that play in them. 5 variations for every single action stage in the entire game. Bosses that have unique mechanics requiring players to utilize each character's strengths. One of the best soundtracks ever produced. And a revamped Chow Garden with multiple areas and Chow Karate. This game is big, and should be the example of what an action platform game could truly be. Ask anyone who's played Sonic Adventure 2 their most memorable moment, and they might have a couple answers. But one sticks out more than any others. City Escape. A high-octane, downhill stage with gameplay crescendos littered throughout. Boarding on a helicopter's door through the city's streets, crashing through robots sitting in your way, ramping off jumps into the air, and even running from a giant truck barreling towards the player at a locked fixed angle. This level serves as a fitting open to a Sonic game, requiring players to quickly learn most of the mechanics Sonic levels will use. Music accompanying it is the cherry on top. A high-speed, metal-infused track with nice clear vocals and backings. You might even feel like this is what Sonic is hearing in his head while he's moving through the stage. I can't stress enough how smart it was to open like this, setting the bar for the action that will be present throughout the rest of the game. But what if you like to live dangerously? What if you had a bad day of school and you wanted to live life on the edge? What if you chose the Dark Team first? Gerald Robotnik, related to longtime villain Eggman, was working in secret and hiding what he referred to as the Ultimate Life Form in a hidden military base. After traveling further into the base, Eggman finds the so-called Ultimate Life Form to be Shadow the Hedgehog. The two decide they will work together to conquer Earth and agree to meet upon the floating station, the Ark, once the pair had collected Chaos Emeralds. This new hedgehog would go on to steal a Chaos Emerald, prompting the Guardians of the United Nations, or GUN, to mistakenly arrest Sonic in the previously mentioned Start of the Hero story. A truly interconnecting campaign with 2 separate storylines that run parallel to each other and end with one of the most impactful scenes in the series to date. Sonic Adventure 2 would go on to provide players with 3 distinct playstyles, having one character on each side play one of the 3 roles. Sonic and Shadow's action stages would be very vanilla in gameplay. Move throughout a level at high speeds working towards a goal ring, again reminiscent of earlier Sonic series gameplay, as well as the more recent Sonic Adventure 1. Tails and Eggman, armed with mech suits, would echo the action stages of E102 Gamma, in that they would be filled with shooting enemies at range and blowing up various obstacles. Rouge the Bat, newly added character and professional treasure hunter, and her counterpart, Knuckles, have action stages that are improved versions of Knuckles' missions from the previous entry, essentially Easter egg hunts with better hints and more interesting environments to search for pieces in. And it's the improvement point I can't stress enough. While technically, Sonic Adventure 2 has only 3 types of gameplay, which is statistically half of Sonic Adventure 1's amount, it trims all of the gameplay that is filler away, and turns almost everything from the first entry up to 11. The Amy and Tails sections from before were too similar to the Sonic gameplay, and were effectively worse versions. With those gone, we are given more fitting gameplay for Tails at the cost of Amy. RIP Amy. As for Knuckles and now Rouge, how did those improve? Well, the environments feel a lot more lived in and realistic, and fit the treasure hunter theme they were going for, not to mention Knuckles gets Pumpkin Hill, one of the best designed sandboxes in the game with a killer backing track. But what about Sonic? How did things get better for our series hero? Mechanically, Sonic has always been tough to balance. An overabundance of acceleration, and you're running into every wall and right off every edge. A lack of it, and you feel like you aren't even playing a Sonic game. Thankfully, acceleration is improved, as well as the obnoxiously bad homing attack scan of the first entry, and provides much more even ground so as to not block Sonic from progressing or having him get stuck over and over. Speaking of getting stuck over and over, this game abandons the hub world entirely in favor of 2 linear stories that feel like they have much better direction. Fully voiced cutscenes between each mission provide players with a more logical timeline for the game's events. Each action stage additionally contains 3 Chow boxes, with the first containing a key that sends the player to the Chow Garden immediately following the completion of said stage. More on the Chow Garden later. This forced gameplay break provides a lull in action that serves as a nice grounding, priming players for whatever might come next. Each action stage's thrill is heightened by the addition of the scoring and grading system. While traversing the many levels of Sonic Adventure 2, various actions award points, whether that be rings collected, enemies destroyed, mission completion time, or cool actions completed such as grinding rails, jumping off ramps, and multi-killing enemies. The extra gameplay optimizations provide the player with a better score and a higher grade for the action stage, and give completionists a want to revisit levels. This want is magnified by the 5 variations of each action stage, which provides 5 distinct iterations along with an increase in difficulty for each subsequent mission. And while none of those subsequent missions are required for completion of Sonic Adventure 2, they provide copious amounts of post-game content. But that's not all. The aforementioned Chow Garden is one of the most remarkable gameplay mechanics the series has ever offered. Not only do Chow have pretty decent AI, even by today's standards, the variation and scope of their training has virtually no bounds. Almost every single thing you do, down to the minor detail, will change your Chow in a plethora of ways, whether that be its shape, its color, its floating pom-pom, or even its wings. All of these things are directly linked to how you treat them and their nature from birth. Different Chow love different foods and actions, and even grow affinities towards the character you're playing as when interacting with said Chow. This process is very time consuming if you were not to do the glitch. Thankfully, I never did it. I swear I never did it at all. Not even once. Each Chow begins life as an egg, which may be cared for or broken open to release the Chow, with even those choices affecting Chow in the future. Dispatching robots, opening tier 2 and 3 Chow boxes, or even whistling into pipes provide the character of that action stage with animals that fit within 7 distinct archetypes: speed, power, flying, swimming, neutral, gold, and dark. Every single animal in the entire game, all 21, give Chow or remove from Chow distinct visual qualities, and some more sought after and rare animals give Chow unique abilities. These qualities and abilities are exemplified through the process of Chow evolution. After nurturing a Chow and some time has passed, Chow will enter a pod and begin evolution, changing shape based on previous nurturing and even gaining an affinity towards the team which it most closely aligns to. This affinity is based on the characters chosen to raise the evolving Chow. Through the process of evolution, new gardens are unlocked. Your first Chow that is a close relationship with the hero team unlocks the Hero Garden, an elegant, distinguished area with a beautiful fountain and a skybox from atop the clouds. Conversely, the first Chow to be closely aligned with the Dark team unlocks the Dark Garden, a grim, cemetery-styled environment with skulls and bloody water littered throughout. These additional areas provide even further incentive to nurture Chow in a variety of ways. But unlike many games in the pet simulator sphere, gameplay doesn't stop at just nurturing your Chow. You can put those bad boys to work. Chow Races and Chow Karate, added in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle's release, provide a reward for all of the time and effort spent. Karate provides additional emblems, which are basically a total mission complete score. But Races provide special rewards in the form of toys that Chow can use after learning how. This education is provided by a separate section of the Chow Garden called the Chow Kindergarten, a separate hub with various back-end activities the Chow partake in. Here we can find the classroom where Chow are taught the aforementioned subject. The Health Center, providing more background on the Chow, such as awards received, favorite food, and times they've transformed or reincarnated. Additionally, there is the Fortune Teller's House, which gives the Chow you bring to them a randomly selected name. The Principal's Room will provide a menu full of helpful information on raising Chow, and even a black market where you can sell items or purchase items with rings, such as specific types of fruit, headgear, and even special eggs. Additional items are unlocked in the black market when certain emblem thresholds are reached. The culmination of all of these gameplay mechanics for a side mode that is vastly different from regular gameplay is a selling point that gets brought up even today. In fact, the Sonic team head, when speaking on the uncertain future of the Chow Garden, recently said, "At some time, yes, because we hear the same thing. Everybody wants it." The Chow Garden is great, and it's really nice taking care of these soft, teardrop-shaped creatures. But Sonic Adventure 2 has more than that. Much more. That's right. Sonic Adventure 2 has Battle Mode. And what is Battle Mode? Battle Mode is a 1v1 scorekeeping competition that pits two players in a head-to-head based on the three different gameplay styles, as well as Chow Karate, Chow Races, and even the kart races from the campaign. Each distinct gameplay style comes with 4 playable characters that fit that archetype, with returning characters such as Tikal and Chaos from Sonic Adventure 1. Even Amy Rose is playable in this, though completely overpowered, and Metal Sonic from Sonic Adventure 1 as well. When enough rings are collected, characters gain their ultimate, which can either freeze time or damage enemies from anywhere on the map. This over-the-top, non-balanced gameplay, when not taken too seriously, is actually quite fun. Overall, the legacy that has been created from a masterpiece such as Sonic Adventure 2 cannot be understated. With a Metacritic score of 8.4, this game receives high praise based on numerous metrics, with most users saying that replaying it even now is still a treat, nostalgia aside. I personally have had a blast revisiting a game I haven't played in years but can still always go back to. There's something special about a game that can be decades old but can still be full of interesting gameplay mechanics. It's not like it ends there though. Sonic the Hedgehog and its series has fans everywhere, even now. We can look at the success of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, and even the more recent Sonic Frontiers, an almost return to form influenced heavily by the Sonic Adventure duology. And while this may be a near-perfect, modern-day iteration, with a much more thought-out storyline that can be appreciated for its writing, it lacks in the fact that there is no Chow Garden and also no multiplayer. And while not every single game in the series has been a smash hit, Sega's continued support through various forms of media, merchandise, TV shows, comics, and its ability to work with fan projects has kept this IP relevant. Not to mention the fan art that continues to carry on the culture surrounding this franchise. I would like to give a shout out to Jet Falco on YouTube and TikTok for sending over some of his awesome art ahead of me filming this video. He has tons of other game franchise art that is equally as great if you want to check it out. I'll link his website as well as his socials in the description box. I look forward to working with him on future projects as well as any other artists willing to collaborate. If you're interested, feel free to message me on any social media or leave a comment. So thank you to Sega for creating one of the most prominent figures in gaming and continuing to meet player expectations. And please release Sonic Adventure 3. I'm begging.